Dhanyavad Haribo. All glories to Srila Gurudev, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Rupanuga Guru Vargas. So devotees, please bear with me 1 second. I need to dial into the phone conference and then we can get started.
Welcome. This service is provided by freeconferencecall.com. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. If you are the host, press star now. Otherwise, please wait and you will be joined into the conference.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started with the Stav and Stuti. Waiting for the moderator to come on to the phone conference. Haribo Bhumi? Haribo? Haribo Mahaburi Prabhu Dandavad. Okay, Srila Prabhupada. I'm going to go ahead and get started with Stav and Stuti. Hey Shri Guru Dinabandhu Ganadas Ananda Datta Karanai Kashindu Vrindavana Sinavatar Prasida Shirara Pranayar Pachara Ajanulambito Bujo Konakavadato Sankirtanai Kapitro Kamla Taksho Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Yugadama Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahayo Hemam Devocha Vishundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasha Pradaya Shri Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Kastriti Lakam Latapatale Vaksayana Kostavam Nasagri Varmoptikam Karatare Venu Karakankanam Sava Angahari Chandanam Sulalitam Kantamuktavadi Vrajastrio Parivestito Vijayate Gopala Chudamani He Shishamashundara Shikara Shikara Smirahasa Milimanohara Radhika Rasika Mama Kripanadi Swapriya Charana King Karim Kuru Tavaivasmi na jivami tvaya vina iti vigyaya radhe tvang nayamam charanantikam. Yatkin kreshu bahusa kaluka kavani nityapurasya purusha shashakandamuli tashakada rasa nidhe visavanujas tatkali kunja bhavananganam marajini shama. Majami radha raravinda netram smarami radha madhura smitasham. Vadhami Radha Karuna Barajam Tato Manashti Gati Nagapi Bhakta Vihina Yaparada Lakshai Kshiptascha Kamadita Rangamaje Kripa Mai Tvang Sharanang Prapana Vrindi Namaste Charanara Vindam Vanchakalpatarubhishcha kripa sindhuvevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Shri Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Dandavad Pranam. And this is the fourth class, which should be our concluding class actually for Kartik Mas. Of course, Kartik Mas is already ended.
The recording has started.
And we have gone through a series of developing, a theme of developing the understanding of the nature of the Atma and how the Atma comes from bondage all the way to the Atma's perfection. Over the last 3 classes, beginning with an ontological description of the Atma, going to a description of how the Atma becomes bound, going to a description of how the Atma is freed from bondage, going to a description about the nature of Guru Tattva, going to a description about the nature of pure bhakti, going to a description about how to practice bhakti and what is anistita bhakti. And now we're coming to the discussion of what it means to reach the platform of Nishta in Bhajan, and on the platform of Nishta, how Ruchi comes. From Ruchi, very quickly, all of our acharyas have mentioned, my Guru Maharaj used to say frequently, when the Atma, the Jiva, comes to the platform of Nishta and Ruchi comes, then very quickly advancement can take place. So we want to first begin by making sure we were clear about the stage of Nishta. So Nishta in bhajan means that stage when 27 different obstacles have been conquered, so to speak, or we've been able to step over 27 different obstacles. I mentioned 6 obstacles like Utsamai, Ganatalana, Vyudavikalpa, right? If you go back to a previous class, you can see all of those things. Then we mentioned 4 types of 4 anarthas, right? So, and it's very important to understand what these anarthas are, because these anarthas are the bedrock of unlimited nuances of issues and problems in obtaining our goal in practicing bhakti. So 4 types of 4 anarthas, 5 types of subtle influence, especially on our chanting of Harinam. Bhakti has been described in 64 different angas. Those 64 different angas have been distilled to 9. Those 9 things have been distilled to 5. Namakirtan, Sadhu Sangha, Maturava, Srimad Bhagavat, and Sri Murtai Shraddhaya Sevan. So serving the deity, residing in Mathura Mandal abroad specifically, studying Srimad Bhagavatam, and how to study Srimad Bhagavatam. Shri Bhagavatam Artadam Rasiko Shaha. One should understand the meanings of Bhagavatam in the association of Rasik saints. Why? Because Srimad Bhagavatam is Rasa Sastra. Even the sages at Namasharanyan, they told, Yach Trinvatam Rasa Jnanam Swadu Swadu Pade Pade. Oh, Sutta Goswami, you're going to speak Srimad Bhagavatam, and there's a huge audience here of all varieties and levels of hearers. But please be mindful that there are hearers here who are Rasagyan, means they know Ras. So in your speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam, you must speak in such a way to satisfy those who are Rasagyan. It means who knows Ras, right? And even in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, it's mentioned, Aho Muhur Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka. That this Srimad Bhagavatam is really meant for those who are Rasik and Bhavuk. But then we may have the question, but wait a minute. If I have not yet reached that level, does that mean I should not study Srimad Bhagavatam? No. Pi Bhagavatam Rasayam, Pi Bhagavatam Rasayam Alayam. So Alayam means like until, right? Until we have come to the stage where there's eligibility to taste rasa. Then Srimad Bhagavatam will be Rasayan. Rasayan means like medicine. So the very same Srimad Bhagavatam, which turns into rasa when we are eligible, is our very medicine or tonic while we're unfolding to get to that point. So Srimad Bhagavatam being heard in the association of Rasik devotees, and then Sadhu Sangha, of course, we mentioned the value of Sadhu Sangha. It is indispensable. If you do not have Sadhu Sangha, you cannot practice bhajan. Not possible. Because actual association of sadhus is the methodology, it is the potency, it is the actual energy which infuses our hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, etc. It is the fuel coming from the heart of pure Vaishnavas, beginning with Guru and Sadhu, right? That is the fuel for our bhajan life, right? Sadhu Sangha, Sava Sastre Koi, Lava Matra, Sadhu Sangha, Sava Siddhi Hoy. So the glory of Sadhu has been mentioned in Sastra. The Lava Matra means even a imperceptible fraction of time can yield perfection in their association. Santam Prasangam Mamavirya Samviro Bhavanti Rit Karana Rashanaya Katha. Being in their association and hearing Harikatha, Srimad Bhagavatam, Mamavirya means it's extremely powerful. What power does it have? To remove the ignorance or avidya of the heart and to replace that avidya with the influence of Swarup Shakti, thereby allowing the heart to unfold to its actual nature of service to Bhagavan. But, Taramaje Savasestra Nama Kirtan. But of all the different processes of bhakti, Nam Kirtan has been mentioned as the most important. Right? So because Nam Kirtan is the most important, the efficacy of our chanting, the purity of our chanting is extremely important. So the last 5 things of the 27 obstacles deal with how we're able to effectively chant Harinam. So Loy, Vikshape, Apratipati, Koshai, and Rasaswad, which if you go back to last week's class, all of those things are spoken out in detail, exactly what they are, etc. These 5 things especially haunt our ability to successfully, to successfully chant Sri Nam, which is the essential ingredient in the practice of bhakti along with sadhu sangha. So when we're able to, by the kripa of Guru and by our own efforts shown, we should not confuse that our effort has the power to make bhakti happen. Actually, bhakti is actually completely a process of kripa or mercy. But our endeavor avails us to mercy. If you listen carefully to Ohe Vaishnav Thakur of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his bhajan, he's saying, Ekaki amar nahi pai bhal, tomara shakoti ache. O Vaishnav Thakur, I am equipped, I'm taking Harinam, but alone, without your association, I don't find I have the power to achieve my goal. But I know you have that power. Therefore, Krishna say to Mara, Krishna deti paro, tomara sakatiyachi. Because you have that power, not only you have that power, but you are disposed by your mercy to give that power to others. I am coming behind you, chasing you. How am I chasing you? Ami tu kangal Krishna Krishna bole dhaya tava poche poche. Running. The implication in this bhajan, dhaya tava poche poche, running means with great endeavor. This is the idea in this saying. With great endeavor, I'm running. How am I running? Ami tu kangal. Kangal means like I've gone mad. What kind of madness? I've given up everything. I've completely lost any interest in anything else. I want to obtain this beautiful goal of pure prem bhakti, especially Radha Dasyam. And for that purpose, I'm running after you with reckless abandon, giving my heart, mind, soul. Prahalad Maharaj told, Guru Sushushaya Bhakta Sava Labda Arpanena Cha. Oh Gurudev, I am serving you with full faith, completely availing myself to your mercy, and Sarva Labda Arpanena Cha. I'm taking everything in my possession and offering at your lotus feet. Not only what I have, but even what I will obtain in the future. That thing I'm also offering at your feet. So in other words, I'm giving my life. This is the indication. Somebody on the telephone is going to have to mute. I don't know if that's me having an echo, but if not, somebody can please press *6 and that will mute your phone. So, the importance of Harinam and conquering these 5 obstacles is extremely important. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, even when we have Nam, it must also be with Sadhu Sangha. So, by the mercy, which was my point, the mercy of sadhus, we begin to make our advancement. Now, once we get to the platform of Nishta, and we have been able to, by Kripa, by mercy, come to the point of getting above these 27 different haunting obstacles. At that time, the chitta becomes very clear and placid. The influence of the function of the mind has the function of accepting and rejection. The intelligence has the function of weeding out what will be enjoyable and what won't be enjoyable. When you put those 2 things together, it's like a machine gone mad, because all of the impressions from our previous lives, all the samskars that are laying in our heart, they're constantly coming up, and the intelligence is trying to weed out, this is enjoyable, this is not enjoyable, this is enjoyable, this is not enjoyable. And the mind, based on that, is accepting, rejecting, accepting, rejecting, accepting, rejecting. So the constant duality of the material world presenting itself in this fashion keeps the chitta, just like if you had a very calm body of water, but you continually throw rocks into it, right, one after another, you'll see the water becomes disturbed. Or if people are playing in the water becomes disturbed. And even if it's a very clear body of water, by that disturbance, you cannot see through the crystal clarity of that water. So in the same way, when the chitta is disturbed by the constant influx of all of the things which are present in the stage of Anistita Bhakti, it is very difficult for the pure, uncontaminated, very sweet element of Swarup Shakti that comes in the form of Harikatha and Harinam to actually come on the chitta and work its magic, so to speak. So once we've been able to successfully, by the mercy of Guru and Sadhu, come to the level of Nishta, at that time, when we begin to hear Harikatha from Sadhus and Guru, then Tat Tat Bhava Adi Madhurye Shruti Dirapekshate Nasa Sastrana Yuktings Cha Tal Lobat Utpati Lakshanam. At that time, a greed, lobe, will naturally arise in the heart. What is that greed impelled by? Ruchi. What is this ruchi? This ruchi no longer has dependence on sastra or sastra yukti. Sastra means not that it's void of following sastra. It means here that it is not dependent on sastra to reveal its sweetness. In order for you to taste it, I gave the example last week. There are certain ingredients which go into making halava. If anybody's on the line that does not know what halava is, I pray to our Guru Varga that you'll be blessed at some point to taste the wonder of this halava. It's a wonderful dish composed of farina or grains, a sweetener. Everybody's not into sugar. I don't do sugar. But a sweetener, sometimes blueberries or dates or so many different things are also added. And the way it's prepared is with butter or ghee, and it's prepared in a certain way. When you taste halava, whether you're a layman or a very experienced devotee, it does not matter, because the taste of halava is swattasiddha, so to speak. Swattasiddha means something that's self-perfected, right? It does not depend on whether you know its ingredients or not to give you the experience of the wonderful nature of that taste. In the same way, I explained in the very first lecture how the Atma is by very nature Chid Ananda Atmakam. Chit Ananda Atmakam means that the conscious Atma is fully capable of tasting bliss. And by very nature, he is Dukkha Pratiyogi. Dukkha Pratiyogita means that in the nature of the Atma, there is no misery. So the absence of misery as a very substantive fact, and the very nature of the Atma to be able to taste ecstatic moods, right, or to be able to taste Ananda, makes it such that when you come to the stage of Nishta and Ruchi starts to come in the form of Harikatha and your bhajan life, because there'll be Ruchi in bhajan, right? So when that starts to happen, it will not be dependent on sastra. Again, this does not mean we don't read sastra. Actually, we read more sastra. We're not also dependent on sastra yukti, which means the logic of sastra. I gave example last week also. If you will read that during the Sarad Rasalila of Sri Krishna at Vamsivat, 1 billion gopis, they gathered on the bank of the Jamuna, and all being impelled by the beauty of the evening, and of course the amazing and transcendental qualities of Sri Krishna. Oh, they were overwhelmed in transcendental bliss. Somebody raised their hand. Excuse me, Prabhu, I did visit Vrindavan. I've been to Vamsivat, and I'm wondering, is it possible for 1 billion people to fit there? So this kind of question won't arise. Why? Because the sweetness of hearing that katha, imbued with understanding something of what is the progression of Ras, from prem to pranay, etc. All of these things will charge the heart. And while charging the heart, it will not leave room for trying to analyze things like how many people can fit on the bank of Vamsivat. You understand? So there won't be dependence on sastra or sastra yukti to taste rasa. Right? In other words, just like the ingredients of halava, they're already present. They don't have to be analyzed and explained. The taste itself is sufficient. So at the stage of ruchi, this is what it means. Right? At the stage of ruchi, I mentioned last week, at the stage of ruchi, the practice of Raganuga Shadan can begin in earnest. What is Raganuga Bhakti? We already explained before. Raganuga means, in the spiritual realm, the eternal associates of Bhagavan the very nature of their Atma is imbued with rag. What is that rag? Isti sorasika raga paramaveshtata bhavet. So we explain, when there is a complete and total absorption in the object of your affection, right? It is called avesh, right? So here it says parama aveshta bhavet, right? Parama means in the supreme. So many meanings will be here for parama means in the supreme, meaning Radha and Krishna, and also meaning in the category of the supremacy of feelings, which means bhav, prem. Right? In the spiritual world, their prem is the parama emotion. That emotion is so completely invested in Bhagavan that they are completely absorbed. They do not know that there is any other existence besides the existence of complete absorption in love for Bhagavan. They are completely unaware, which is why the fallacy of falling from the spiritual world is just that. It's such a deep opposidantic concept. Because the eternal associates of the spiritual world are so completely absorbed, they do not know there is a place called the material world. They are so completely absorbed. In Braj, those Ragatmik Jan are our ideal. They are the models which we want to follow. Following in the footsteps of those eternal associates of Bhagavan whose hearts are imbued with that kind of rag is called rag anuga. So I explained the word rag already. Anuga means anugamana. So gamana means to go, anu means continuously and following. So to continuously follow in a progressive moving forward through bhajan life, following the eternal residence of Braj is called Raganuga Bhakti. Now, Sri Rupa Goswami Pad, he wrote 2 verses in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. 2 only. Our acharyas have given commentary on those verses. There's been many expanded explanations of Raganuga Bhakti, like in Rag Vatma Chandrika, Prem Bhakti Chandrika, in many places. Right? Ujjwali Lamani also. But Sri Rupa Goswami Pad, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he wrote, Krishna Smaram Janam Chasya Nija Prestam Shamanvitam. So this first verse that he wrote says, Krishna Smaram Janam Chasya Nija Prestam Shamanvitam. So here it says that one should continuously remember Sri Krishna along with his associates. Now, Nija Presta here means he should remember that form of Krishna which he is most attracted to, along with his associates. So, to put this in context for us, or those who are following in this line, this means that we want to follow in the footsteps of those who have the ideal of love that we aspire for. If one aspires for Sakyaras, then he will follow those who are in the mood of Sakyaras, like Shridam, Subhal. Of course, Priya Sakas, Priya Namasakas are different. So if you are following Sakyaras, you'll know this difference and you'll do bhajan life accordingly. Those who are following in the path of Manjari Bhav. Manjari Bhav is prominent in our line. Manjari Bhav is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anapita chirim chirat karunavitina kalo sumutpayatam unata ujwala rasa swabhakti sriyam. So unata ujwala ras means madhurya ras, or conjugal love of Radha and Krishna. Any jiva's eligibility to serve that conjugal love raises up to the height of nitya sakis. Nitya sakis mean those who are imbued with the mood of following the pran sakis, who are the manjaris of Radhika. Let me repeat it again. The highest attainment of jivas aspiring for Radha Dasyam, or service to Radha and Krishna in Madhurya Ras, can attain the position of nitya sakis. There are 5 kinds of sakis. I'm only telling 2 because that's what's important for us right now. Nitya sakis and pran sakis. Radhika's pran sakis are Rup Manjari, Lavanga Manjari, Rati Manjari, Guna Manjari, Vilas Manjari, Sri Raman Manjari. So these are Radhika's pran sakis. those who follow them and serve under them in the spiritual realm are called Nityasakis. So our aspiration for those who want to do Madhujara Seva is Radhadasyam, and this is the line that we're following. All of our Guru Vargas have this Manjari Bhav. So at this point, it's important for me to explain kind of what is Manjari Bhav before we go on. Please also note that sometimes in these discussions, devotees speak, this is a very high topic, what is Manjari Bhav? What is high is experiencing Manjari Bhav. What is Siddhanta is understanding what is Manjari Bhav. Don't conflate the two things. Experiencing what is Manjari Bhav and trying to taste what is Manjari Bhav is extremely high. Beyond Adhikar for most of us. I cannot speak for all. Beyond most of us, certainly beyond my own Adhikar. To understand what it is called Rasa Tattva or Siddhanta, Rasa Siddhanta. That is what is needed to practice bhakti. We have to understand Siddhanta. So Rasa Siddhanta is also important to understand. Simply understanding Rasa Siddhanta is not the same as doing Rasa Aswadan, which means tasting Ras. And the artificial attempt to taste Ras is called Prakrita Sahajya. If the genuine Adhikar, means the genuine eligibility to taste Rasa in any particular loving relationship with Krishna is not present, and you try to imitate that mentally or even some people externally, it is called Prakrita Sahajyavad. Right? Vad means the theory of practice of Sahaja. Sahaja means literally, Saha means natural in one sense. Sahaja means natural. But here Sahaja means along with the nature that you've acquired due to karma, Prakrita, you apply that Prakrit Bhav to transcendental things. It is called Prakrita Sahajyavad. So don't mistake that understanding Rasa Siddhanta or trying to understand Rasa Siddhanta is imitating or being Sahaja. No, this is practicing bhakti. Attempting to taste Rasa is called Sahajavad if you have no Adhikar for it. So what is Manjari Bhav? I'm thinking the verse now. Sanchari Sat Shamonava Krishna Rati Sirid Rati Pusha Monas Adhikascha Bhava Ulas Itiriyate. This is the verse written by Rupa Goswami Pad. Sometimes the end of the verse is translated Bhava Ulas Rati. But in the actual Sanskrit that Rupa Goswami wrote, he wrote Bhava Ulas Itiriyate. So, that kind of bhav which arises in the heart of a practitioner who has obtained the eligibility, or in the eternal associates who are serving as Pran Sakis, Nitya Sakis, the Bhav Ulas. Ulas means an exaltation of their mood, right? The exaltation of their mood, which exceeds and nourishes. Pushamanams, Arikas Cha. Arika means to exceed. Pushamana means to nourish. That mood of Surid Rati, Surid means friendship, towards Radhika, that mood consistently nourishes and exceeds their loving towards Krishna. It is called Bhavulas Rati or Bhavulas Itiriyate. This is called Manjari Bhav. Understand? Those whose affection is more towards Radhika and the ulas of their feelings towards Radhika exceeds and nourishes their feeling towards Krishna, right? This is called Manjari Bhav or Radhadasyam. So why is the wording that this is a Bhav Ulas Rati? Why isn't it just that you can have a Sthai Bhav towards Radhika? Because Rupa Goswami Pad is described. Sthai Bhava Utrasa Prokta Sri Krishna Vishayani Rati. The actual only objective of a Sthai Bhav in Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, of course in Braj there is really no Santa and really no real Dasya, right? So Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya and Madhurya, right? any one of these feelings, right, towards Krishna is called a sthai bhav, right? The object of every sthai bhav is Krishna. Now, my god brother, he told, and he's very Siddhantavit, very Rasik, he told, listen, and he's heard from Srila Gurudev. I was here when this question came up on a morning walk here in Alachua. They were asking about this verse and asking, I don't want to go off our subject, so I'm not going deeply into it. Whether this feeling was a sanchari bhav or sthai bhav, right? So I don't want to go down the whole thing because I don't want to get lost. But long story short, right? In the verse where Rupa Goswami says, Sthai bhava uttarasai prokta Sri Krishna Vishai Nirati. Here the word Sri means that actually the sthai bhav is towards Radha and Krishna, because you cannot have Krishna without Radhika. So it's not a contradiction to the verse, right? That the prominency of Suridrati or Radha Dasyam takes place. That would not contradict the idea that Krishna is really the only object of a sthai bhav. So some of this is obviously over the heads of some devotees. That's fine. Gurudev used to say, put it on file, and later on, you can bring it out, and you can compare it to Sastra, to notes, to lectures of Srila Gurudev and other high-class Vaishnavas. Maybe there's some mistakes I've made. You can also offer so many corrections. I will be so appreciative in that way, right? So, this is the description of what is Manjari Bhav. Now, in our practice of bhakti, beginning from the stage of ruchi, how will we obtain this kind of bhav? So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhu was told, Karma tapa yog jnana viri bhakti japa dhyan iya hoite madhurya dulabh. The sweetness of this kind of loving affection is difficult to obtain. It will not be obtained through tapasya, yog, gyan, vaidhi bhakti, right? Because we spoke last week, right? Sakale jagate more vaidhi bhakti bhraja bhav paiti nahi sakti. Right? You cannot obtain the mood of Braj by following strictly the path of vaidhi bhakti. You must come to the path of Raganuga bhakti in order to understand these moods of Braj. There is no path to Braj through vaidhi bhakti. I explained last week, those devotees who are practicing, who have not yet reached the level of ruchi, this is called Raganuga Pravritti. It is the path in preparation for coming to the stage of ruchi, at which time, in earnest, one can pick up the practice of Raganuga Bhakti. So, Kevala ye rag marge bhajye Krishna anurage tare Krishna madhurya shulabh. So only this sweetness can be tasted on the path of Raganuga Bhakti. Even Mahaprabhu told himself, Prem rasniyas karite ashadan ragamag bhakti loke karite pracharan. Mahaprabhu's purpose in coming was to preach this Rag Marg. To whom was he preaching Rag Marg? This is a question. Because Gurudev once mentioned, you cannot preach Rag Marg. So I was like in shock. I was like, okay, if you cannot preach, well, how do people understand? I mean, where does Rag Marg come from if you can't preach it? And also, how do you explain this verse? Rag Marg Bhakti Loke Karite Pracharan. Mahaprabhu is saying, I came to preach Rag Marg. So Gurudev confided. He said, listen. Prem naeva gopa ramanam kamam ityagamat pratam. Udava adayo apietan vajanti bhagavat priya. To whom was Mahaprabhu preaching Rag Marg? Not to ordinary jivas. To all of Vajanti Bhagavat Priya means all the devotees from previous incarnations. The glory of Mahaprabhu's Leela is that he brings the devotees from all the previous incarnations and he allows them to taste the intensity of Braj Ras in the form of Gaur Leela. This is why Gaur Leela is called Adhodhya, munificent. So all the devotees headed by Uddhav, Uddhava Adayo Pietan. Why? Because outside of Braj, as we know from Brihad Bhagavatamritam, that Uddhava is the highest of devotees outside of Braj. So beginning with Uddhav, all the devotees, Prahlad, right, Dhruv, everybody, they come into Gaur Leela, and in Gaur Leela, they taste the intensity of Braj Prem. How will they taste Madhurya Ras? Oh, through those who were able to serve Mahaprabhu, especially in Puri, right? Or who were ordered by Mahaprabhu to come to Braj, like Lokanath Buragaba, Rupa Sanatan, Gopal Bhatt Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami came many years later after Mahaprabhu left. But in this way, their service, this is the intensity. How did they taste the essence of all of the pastimes of Braj? Samyak Saravasana Krishnera Ras Lila. Ras Lila is the pinnacle of all Braj pastimes. How did these associates in Gaur Lila taste that? They tasted it in the form of the kirtan in the house of Srivas. This is why the kirtan in the house of Srivas was restricted in the beginning, because it required eligibility. Just like to enter Ras Lila, you require eligibility. Those gopis, even who had obtained Vastu Siddhi, I'll explain this later on, who did not have sufficient association with Nityasiddha gopis, when Krishna called for Ras, on that night, those gopis, their husbands blocked them from going. Eligibility is required. So when Mahaprabhu descended, in Madhurya form, the essence of that Braj mood in Gaur Lila, to come into the Kirtan and Srivas Angan, you had to be qualified. Only when the merciful nature of that Kirtan spilled out, right, and overflowed, then it entered the streets of Nadia, became Naraga Sankirtan. You understand? But my original point was Mahaprabhu came to preach this Rag Marg to the devotees of previous incarnations. Well, then how do we get it, Mukunda? How will we understand Rag? I explained even so many classes ago that actually every devotee, they will receive the gifts of Mahaprabhu through parampara of pure devotees. In other words, if you study the Panchatattva, I've quoted this many times, so I'm not going to repeat the whole thing. Panchatattva Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. So in the Panchatattva, two prominent things are there. Well, 5 things are there, but 2 things I'm mentioning. One is Bhakti Shakti. The Bhakti Shakti is actually Swarup Shakti, or Srimati Radhika herself is Bhakti Devi when it descends to this world, right? In the form of Gadadhar Pandit. But you cannot access that Bhakti unless Srivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Unless you connect with a devotee in whose heart Srivas means, Sri here means Radhika. Sri Mana Radhika, Vas, whose has the mood of Seva to Radhika residing in their heart, they are called Srivas. Written in Chaitanya Charitamrita Gupta. Shri Bhakti Ras Hridaya Tvam Ataha Srivas Uchyate. Your name is Srivas because Sri Bhakti Ras resides in your heart. So pure devotees are like this. We will hear and understand and practice under guidance of these kinds of pure devotees. That's how we will practice Raganuga Sadhan. Now, how do we practice this Raganuga Sadhan? Chaitanya Charitamrita has explained. You go to Majalila, chapter 222, maybe starting around verse 156, something like that. Baya antarihara duitara sadhan, bai saraka dehakari, Shravan Kirtanan, then Moni Nija Sira Deha, Koriye Bhavan, Rachi Dine Kari Vraje, Krishnera Sevan. So, Mahaprabhu, when he's instructing Sanatana Goswami Pad, he told, there are 2 types of sadhana. This we've already discussed. Vairi Bhakti and Raganuga. In Raganuga Bhakti, there's also 2 kinds of practice. In the 2nd verse that Rupa Goswami wrote in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it explains this. Seva sadika rupena siddha rupena chatrihi tad bhava lipsunakara vraja lokanusarita. So here Mahaprabhu is explaining it to Sanatana Goswami Pad. In the practice of Raganuga, there are 2 things. One is prior to the time of obtaining bhav and realizing our siddha deha, we will practice Raganuga Sadhan in our Sadak Deha. What is the practice in Sadak Deha? Shravan Kirtan. What we've been doing all along. what we have been doing all along, Shravan Kirtan. This is Raganuga. What makes it Raganuga? The aim and objective of it. And what makes it Raganuga practice in earnest? When we have come to the stage of Nishta and now Ruchi has started to come. Ruchi for Bhajan, then Ruchi for Bhajaniya, means the object of Bhajan. When this kind of Ruchi has started to come, then Shravan Kirtan, with this kind of Ruchi, is the beginning of the practice of Raganuga Sadhan in earnest. So in Sadak group means in this form here. Haribol Babuji, let me take the questions at the end. Or can you, or something wrong on the phone?
No, it's okay. You're very, very clear.
Okay, let me do the questions at the end. Unless I made a mistake. I might have made a mistake. Any mistake is there?
I was just concerned that you were calling Raganuga Bhakti in earnest and Raganuga Pravriti Raganuga Bhakti.
Oh, that we'll discuss. We'll come to. I'm explaining why. I'll tell that at the end.
Okay,
All
okay.
right. So now, coming to this stage of practice in Sadak Deha, Shravan Kirtan, same things we've been doing, are prominent, but with the infusion of Ruchi, or genuine taste. Right? I've already explained what Ruchi is. I quoted the verse, Tat Tat Bhava Adi Madhye. Right? So this is practicing in Sadak Deha. Now, in Rupa Goswami Pad's verse, he says, Vraja Lokanu Sarata. Now, I'm going to stay away from something I was going to comment on. One of the ways that there was a very big development of Sahajavad was due to the influence of one devotee, right, who was formerly a very great devotee, but then later on kind of deviated. His name was Rup Kaviraj. And one of the things that he did was took a misunderstanding of this verse, Vraja Lokanu Sarata. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad, all of our acharyas, they have commented. What is the meaning of Vraja Lokanu Sarata in Sadak Deha? Sadak Deha means this body we're practicing in. It means to follow in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, our Goswami Varga, our Guru Dev. How they're practicing bhajan, we will follow that practice. That is called Vraja Lokanu Sarata in Sadak Deha. Siddha Rupena Chatrahi. In the stage of Siddha, it means when Bhav has descended. At that time, we will practice Vraja Lokanu Sarata, still following our Guru Dev, but we will see our Guru Dev in his Siddha Rup, right? As Ini Manjari, Guru Rupa Sakhi Manjari, following Rup Manjari in the gun of Lalita, doing Radha Dasyam Seva to Sri Radha Krishna Yugal. You understand? But this will be something genuine. This is not something you can, okay, I figured it out intellectually. I'll just impose it on my bhajan life. I will sit down. I will imagine I'm any Manjari. Gurudev is a Manjari. Even by mercy, Gurudev has revealed his Manjari Naam and Roop, everything. So when, I know my Gurudev with the Manjari, and I'll sit and I'll just meditate. So-and-so Manjari, and I'm also one Manjari following. So we cannot do like this. Because bhakti is its own manifestation on the chitta. It is not something that you can impose by your intelligence, mind. Even your practice cannot force bhakti to come. Like in the verse, Kriti Sajja Bhavet Sajja Bhavasa Saranabhida Nitya Sirasha Bhavasha. The bhav that comes in the heart is already an eternally accomplished bhav. It did not come from your practice. What your practice did was avail a condition in your heart suitable to the acceptance of the manifestation of that Nitya Siddha Bhav. So understand that. That practice doesn't produce this. I'm going to become pure and I'm going to realize Bhav. No. You're going to endeavor. And when Krishna and Guru show their mercy, Sudha Sattva Visheshatma, Prem Suyang Samyabhak, then Swarup Shakti will descend in your heart, the essence of the potency of Ladini and Sandini on the purified heart, Ladini and Sangvit on the purified heart of Sandini, and at that time, Swarup Siddhi will come and Bhakti will reveal to you a Nitya Siddha Bhav. Understand? Now, I'm going to go on what Mahaprabhu has written because there's some very important points here. even though the bhav is manifest by its own accord, still you have to practice with sambandha gyan. You cannot practice bhakti without any conception of what my aspiration is to serve Krishna. You can't practice like just haphazardly. Then one day, Swarup Shakti will drop on you and I'm a manjari. Oh, I'm a cowherd boy. It's not like that. In the association of true Guru and Sadhu, when you come to the stage of Ruchi, Guru will examine your bhav. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written this in the 16th chapter of Jivadharma. Guru will begin to examine your particular inclination and bhav. At that time, your own speaking will reveal, oh, I have so much taste for this kind of seva. Then Guru will give you bhajan siksha in that particular mode of seva, and you will do your bhajan and your dhyan during your sadhana. Your dhyan means your meditation, absorbed in that kind of bhajan siksha. Then, when it becomes very ripe and Swarup Shakti descends, then it will reveal itself in the heart. So two kinds, my point here was two kinds of practice of Raganuga. In the Sadak Deha and in the Siddha Deha. In the Sadak Deha, following in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami and our Goswami Varga and Sri Guru. And in Siddha, following in the footsteps of Rupa Manjari. And our Guru Vargas like that. So how do we absorb in this practice? So first, Jiva Goswami Pad has spoken in Bhakti Sandarbha, right? So I think he's quoting Anuched 312 here. Ajata tadrisa ruchina tushat vishesha dhara matra drita raganugapi vaidi samvali thai van nushit tehaya. Those in whom Ruchi has not yet arisen. Those in whom Ruchi has not yet awakened, but who have a special interest for it. They should continue to go on engaged in Vaidhi Bhakti, right? With the aspiration for Raganuga. This is called what? Raganuga Pravritti. Right? Then, once their Ruchi is awakened, they will continue in their practice. Right? So then he quotes the verse from Sri Rupa Goswami Pad. Now in Chaitanya Shikshamrita, it's mentioned there how to practice Raganuga Sadhan. Sadake jakon Raganuga mag lob hoy, tokon Sadguru nikata pratana koile tina sadake. Ruchi Puriksha Korya. This is what I just mentioned. Ruchi Puriksha Korya means Shri Guru will examine, at the stage of Ruchi, he will examine your bhajan and see, oh, there's this particular inclination. And with the help of the disciple speaking his own words, he can then identify your particular taste in a mode of service. Then, Mane Nija Siddhadaya Koriye Bhavan. One should then contemplate in his bhajan life, in his chitta, right? He should contemplate his Siddhadeha, means he should contemplate the form for which he has aspiration to serve Bhagavan. Right? What is this? Nija abhishta seva upayoga dehinam. Nija abhishta seva upayogi dehinam. The form which you want to serve Radha and Krishna, which has arisen in your heart due to the association of sadhu sangha and the impressions that are in the chitta. I don't want to go down a pike because I just saw we will start going down whether the swarupa is inherent or not. I'm not discussing that here. Right? It's another discussion. Right? But we know it is brought out by the association of sadhus for sure. Now, so from that association, when it begins to manifest to the point where pariksha, the guru can examine it, then he says you can start to contemplate in your chitta, right? Just like in our chitta, we contemplate in the material sense all kinds of identities, right? If anybody will see a movie, they contemplate themselves as the movie hero. When you're a little boy, you contemplate in your chitta what you'll be when you grow up, or young lady contemplates what they'll be when they grow up. So contemplation of something in the chitta that we aspire for and then play out has also been a natural part even of our conditioned life. The only difference is that the identity that you get is a false identity. Upadi, ahamkara, etc. I've already explained that, right? But here, the contemplation of a particular form of aspiration for service is real, right? So one should go on. Haribol Buji, let's wait till the end, if we can.
Okay, sorry.
Right? So one should then contemplate in that mood. Now, if you want to do Radha Dasyam, if you want to serve in the mood of a Manjari, certain things will be helpful, like Stav and Stuti of Raghunath Das Goswami and Vilap Kushmanjali. Parabhojastava Venu Varadasyameva Nanyat Kadapi Samaye Kila Deviyache Shakayate Mama Namastu Namastu Nityam Dashayate Mama Rasostu Rasostu Satyam. So Raghunath Das Goswami is saying here, O Srimati Radhika, there's never at any time that I desire to have the position of your Saki. Saki means like Lalita, Vishaka, Chitra, Champakalata, Induleka, Sudevi, Rangadevi, etc. I have no desire to obtain a position like that. I offer my pranam to the lotus feet of your Sakis. But I pray that you will give me the Sayate Mama. You give me the taste of your lotus feet in seva. Rasostu Satyam. Telling the truth, this is my taste. This is what I want. So meditating on verses like this is an example of the kind of bhajan shiksha Shri Guru may give in order to nourish your mood of seva towards Radhika. So there are many verses from Vilap Kushmanjali here. I will not go through them all. Right? Even like I mentioned in our morning Guru Astakam, right? Nikunja yuno rati keli siddhai yajali bir yuktira pekshaniyai. Right? So even meditation on verses like this, right, is the same thing. That we begin to contemplate seeing Shri Guru in his seva as a manjari. Because Nikunj, right, when Radha and Krishna are having their vilas, means their pastimes, there is a kunj which is built, right? Within that kunj, within that forest bower, there is like an inner room, which is called Nikunj. In that place, only those who are in manjari mood will do intimate seva there. So when we say to Guru, Nikunja yuno rati keli siddhai, that he is expert, he is siddha in rati keli of Nikunj, this is indicating that he is manjari. Right? Alright, so let me just read a few things about the practice of Raga Nuga Sadhan. Some Rag Vatma Chandrika. Excuse me, not Rag Vatma, Prem Bhakta Chandrika. Sadhane ye danchai shira deha tahipai pakka apakka matra se vichar. In the beginning of the practice of Raganuga Bhajan, right, there is not a difference. In other words, what you're practicing in your sadhana, that's what will manifest. The only consideration, vichar here, is pakka apakka. Ripe, pakka means ripe, apakka means unripe. So in the practice, right, it's not something different. You will not have to change. I'll change from hearing and chanting, serving, going to Mangalarti, taking Harinam. No, your practice will be the same. Your aspiration will be different somewhat if you were not aware previously. Now clarity in Sambandha Gyan, your objective in doing bhajan will be very clear. And now it's only a matter of that practice becoming mature. What happens when that practice becomes mature? I've already explained. Sudha Sattva Viseshatma Prema Suryangsa Samyabhak. When your practice becomes mature, at that time, Prem Suryangsa Samyabhak. So Prem Suryangsa means, Prem Surya means the son of Prem. One ray of that sun, Prem Suryangsa, one ray or part of that son of Prem comes down and enters the heart. What happens when that takes place? Ruchi bis chitta masrinya. The chitta we've already described from the very first class what the chitta is. Now that chitta, which for so long had been the objective of false impressions from avidya of the material world, had now become cleared, right? Just like in the verse Nityasiddha, what's the verse? Nityasiddha Krishna Prem Saju Kapunoi, Shravanadi Sudha Chitta. Now the chitta has become soothed, pure. Now in that pure chitta, which is now taken the platform of Sandhini Shakti, it is completely coated in spiritual substance. Now, Ladini Samvit, descend on that spiritual substance in the heart. What happens to the chitta? Ruchi bis chitta masranya. Masranya means it like melts. How does it melt? By the influence of ruchi. Right? We talked about ruchi. This ruchi becomes thicker and thicker. First, ruchi manifests as a taste for bhajan. I cannot give up chanting 1 lakh. Maybe chanting now 2 lakhs. I cannot give up hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, especially from Rasik Sadhus. Right? I cannot give up the association of my God brothers and God sisters, all reminding me of Krishna. Right? So this kind of intense taste in bhajan life is the first thing. Then the contemplation of the object of your bhajan in the form of the Nam, Roop, Gun, Parikar, and Leela start to one by one take shape within the heart. Right? Then your taste in the object of bhajan, right, takes place. This leads into the thickness of an attachment that you cannot give up. That is called Ashakti. From the stage of Ashakti, when you're at the point where it is unbearable, you have no alternative. It is do or die. At that time, Guru, Sadhus, Mahaprabhu, Srimati Radhika, and Krishna bestow their kindness and mercy on you. At that time, a ray of the prem coming from the heart of Sri Gurudev, down through Parampara. It's come down, coming through the heart of Gurudev, enters your heart and illumines your heart, right? With Sudha Sattva. Sudha Sattva Visheshatma, Prem Suryanksa Samyabhak. This illumination is a ray of prem. It causes the heart to melt. Ruchi bis chitta masranya. Chitta masranya. What happens when the heart, when the chitta melts? It acquires 3 different tastes. Bhagavat Prapt Abhilas. When will I be able to serve my worshipable objective Shri Radha Krishna Yugal? When will that day come? So you'll see so many bhajans written like that by our acharyas. Oh, when will that day come? When I will have their service. Secondly will come Anukula Abhilas, that you'll think of so many favorable ways that you want to serve. You'll meditate. When will I, standing at some distance, listening very carefully for my Guru Rupa Sakhi to call me and to engage me in the service of Sri Rup Manjari or any Sakhi by doing any kind of menial service, right? And your deep desire for Anukul Abhilas, to render some favorable service, will be there. And Soharat Abhilas, Soharat means when the heart is completely melted. When with melted heart will this happen? So these 3 things are called Chitta Masranya, or melting of the Chitta, due to the influence of these 3 kinds of taste, Ruchi, right? This stage is called Bhav Bhakti. In the stage of Bhakti, one will then begin to practice according to 5 different things: Bhav Sambandhi, Bhav Anukul, Bhav Avirud, Brad Pratikul, etc. So next week, I swore that I would be able to get through the whole thing, but it's just not possible. And I also got a warning from Maharaj last week: don't talk too long. Don't do so much that it becomes overwhelming and people cannot digest, and also people cannot remember even what you said. So I'm going to leave the phone conference, not the phone conference, excuse me, the Facebook Live going, and take some questions from the phone. If there are questions on the Facebook Live, I think you can type them, and if I can see them, then I can also answer them. Or try to answer it. If not, Shriman Mahaburi Prabhu, Bhumipati Prabhu, I'm looking online. Also, Vedanta Such Prabhu is there. Vinay Prabhu. So there are many devotees online also. So I can always have course to ask other devotees. If something I'm not clear, I can't answer something, then there are many other devotees online. I think Maharaj also maybe on the phone or online. Pujapad Shanta Maharaj. So I have recourse to ask people if not. So I'm going to get to that point. What is bhav, right? And then next week we'll go into the practice in bhav bhakti leading to prem. Then we'll go through the steps of prem, like sneha, man, pranaya, rag, anurag. Then in anurag, it takes on an excellence to mahabhav, rud, adirud, mohan, modan, and exclusively in Shrimati Radhika Modanakya Mahabhav we'll discuss up to that. So are there any questions that from tonight or from last week or any time? So I know, Prabhuji, you had some questions. So you can unmute, devotees can unmute on the phone and you can ask and I can try to answer. Similarly on the Facebook Live, devotees, if you want to type, as I said, you can type any questions. All right, Haribo?
When you said,
I'll repeat the question on Facebook. Hold on one second. I'll repeat the question on Facebook in case people can't hear it. Okay, go ahead, Prabhuji.
hi, Paul.
Yes.
I was wondering when you were saying that you serve and the difference between following in the footsteps of a particular servant in Braj and serving the servant in Braj that you wish to eventually serve like.
Let me make it clear. So, in Rupa Goswami Pad's verse, Seva Sadhika Rupena Siddha Rupena Chatrahi Tad Bhava Lipsunakara Vraja Lokanusarata. So Vraja Lok means who is residing in Braj. So this has two meanings. Braj Lok means the eternal associates of Bhagavan who are residing in Braj. And also it means Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and our Goswami Varga and our Guru Parampara that are residing in Prakat Braj and demonstrating the process of bhajan here. So, in Sadhak Roop, that means in the body you have now as a practitioner, we will follow in the footsteps of those like our Guru Dev, our Parampara, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, etc. How were they doing bhajan? When we obtain bhav and our Siddha Swarup is revealed in the heart, at that time we can practice bhajan on two levels. This we'll do in Prakat Braj, how they're practicing in Sadhak Roop, hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. And in Siddha Roop, one will be engaged in the particular Paramakashta Seva that one has been revealed what is that Seva, right? And internally they'll be engaged in that service under the guidance of Raja Loka Nusarta. Here means under Vraj Lok, meaning the eternal associates of Shri Radha and Krishna in Nitya Golok Vrindavan, including your Guru Rupa Sakhi. Because my Guru Dev, we should know our Guru Dev, he's also a Nitya associate of Radha and Krishna. So is it clear to you? Vraja Lokanusarta means following Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, how they did bhajan here. And once you have bhav and your swarup is clear, right? I'm giving in general because even in the Sakti, you begin to get glimpses of your swarup, right? Meaning here your Siddhadeha, right? So, but once your Siddhadeha is clearly...
Can you have bhav without the swarup being clear?
No. Swarup
Okay,
Siddhi is a concomitant reality to bhav. Yes. Not that I know. If anybody knows different, they can speak. Not that I've ever heard.
But you were in the middle of something, but I would have lost it if I
Yes.
didn't.
Okay, no
At
problem.
that point.
But bhav, we should also... Yeah, also we should understand, however, bhav is not perfection in and of itself. In bhav, we will practice in bhav, and then we will obtain prem. Prem cannot come into this physical body. So at the time of obtaining prem, at that time, we will actually enter into a particular place where Krishna is performing his pastimes. Excuse me. And at that time, we will obtain what is called Vastu Siddhi. Vastu Siddhi means we'll obtain the spiritual form, right, just suitable to the type of seva that we want to render to Radha Krishna. When Narada Muni was talking to Vyasadeva and he told Vyasadeva how he had become perfect, he spoke two verses, about his perfection. Evam Krishnamatiya Brahman Nakshatya Amala Atmanaha Kala Pradura Bhut Kale Tadit Sudhamani Yata. So in the first verse he told, listen, near the end of my sojourn in the material world, when it came time to give up my body, I was fully absorbed. At that time he had obtained perfection, right? Of course, Narada Muni is the eternal associate, but he's speaking about his expansion as a sadhaka to show how the process works. So he says, when I had become completely perfect, my Atma was Atma Amala Atmana. Amala Atmana means my consciousness, Chitta Atma, become completely pure. The Atma is never contaminated. So here it means the Chitta was completely purified. At that time, it was also the time of death. Kalaha Pradurbhut Kale. The time for death had come. Pradurbhut means mature time, essentially. So the time for death had come. At that time, Taditsudamani Yata, just like lightning and illumination take place simultaneously, right? So this is a very important. I read the commentary that he writes here. So when the spiritual form manifests, I was going to discuss this next week, but I'm just telling some of it now. When the spiritual form manifests, it is not like you enter a place and then they say, okay, here's your spiritual form. You want it to be a gopi. Here's the form. How do you like it? We can show you some other brands. It's not quite like that, right? But what it is like is Prayuja Mai Mani Tvam Shudim Bhagavatim Tanum, right? Arabdha Karma Nirvano Nanyapatat Panchabodikam. When you come to the point where all of your Arabdha Karma, anything that can produce a body, is completely finished. So Narada Muni in the previous verse said his Atma was nirmal, it was completely pure. There was no reason for him to take another body. So at the same time, Nanyapatat Panchabodika, that his material body fell away, like lightning and illumination are simultaneous, Prayuja Mani Mayitvam. Sudham Bhagavatim Tanu. Shuddham Bhagavatim Tanu means he received, Tanu means body. He received a spiritual body just suitable to his service to Bhagavan. How did he receive that body? Prayuja Mane. Now this is a very...
One of the other universes?
Nope, he received a body where Krishna was performing his pastimes. Narada Muni's different case. So I'm just discussing the nature of how to receive a spiritual body here. So, all of our...
I thought everybody went to one of the material manifestations.
It depends on what kind of body...
In the material world.
Right, it depends on what kind of body you're receiving. Some will go to Vaikuntha.
So whatever follower becomes Narada Muni would be the Narada Muni that's
No.
the whole pastime there.
No. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad has explained Narada Muni and Prahalad are Nitya Siddhas. So the question arises, well, how did they perform sadhana? Because you read the story of Prahlad that in a previous life he was the son of Vasusarma and he was with a prostitute. This thing happened, that thing happened. They went to an Ashringa. Well, I thought Prahlad was Nitya Siddha. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad in his commentary in Sarita Darshan says, both Narada Muni and Prahlad have expansions that perform sadhana to show ordinary jivas how perfection is accomplished through sadhana. So here, that form of Narada Muni, which is a Gandharva, Upabarna, which is cursed by Brahma, who takes birth as the son of a maidservant, this is an expansion of Nitya Siddha Narad. It is not the original Narada Muni.
So it's not just him going through it. In other words, he's not Ananta Siddha, he's Nitya Siddha.
Yes, Narada Muni is Nitya Siddha. So let me finish this, because it's an important explanation. So, all of our acharyas have, because I looked in other, and I called different Sanskrit scholars that I knew, Prayuja Mane, if you look at the etymology of the word, Prayuj means, like, Prakrish Rupain, Yuj means to completely connect something, right? But here, all of our acharyas have translated it as having been awarded. Every acharya, practically, Siddhar Swami, the original Siddhar Swami, commentator on Bhagavatam and Bhavarta Deepika, all of it translated like this. Al Srila Prabhupada also is translated having been awarded. So I was trying to understand from the etymology and the word, how is it having been awarded? It is impossible, listen, it is impossible for your spiritual root to manifest without the Kripa of Bhagavan. So to say that it has been awarded indicates the Kripa of Bhagavan having become manifest. You understand?
No, it cannot be earned. It cannot be earned.
It can't be earned. That's the point. So it's the word that announces that the mature mercy of Bhagavan is now manifested. But what is this? It is not like receiving a body within karma, like a demigod body or another kind of body. This is addressed in Baladev Vijayabhushan Prabhu in Govinda Bhashya. He goes over this and he explains, this body is non-different from the Atma itself. So here the word prayujamane means to have a body manifest that is inextricable from the Atma itself. Like in the Atma now, we identify with two other bodies, a subtle body and a gross body. And these bodies are awarded by karma. Karmana, Daivana, Natrena, Jantu, Deho, Pupatya, etc. Right? So they're awarded by karma. But the spiritual body is manifested, right? It is manifested and it is non-different from the Atma itself. You understand? It is non-different.
With no tubes and pipes and electrical connections.
Exactly. The Atma and the body become non-different. Now, here's another thing. Because the Swarup, the Siddha Swarup exists in the spiritual arena, there is no influence of time. The spiritual world is Nitya Vartmanakal. It is the present, always now. It is always the ever present. There is no past, present, and future. Past, present, and future in the spiritual world only nourish Leela. We can remember when Krishna was a baby. Now it is nighttime and Krishna goes out for Ras Leela. Now it is daytime and Mother Yashoda wakes. So it's only serving the Leela, but it does not have influence there like it does in the material world. Therefore, when one realizes his Swarup, he does not realize his Swarup as having been obtained on Friday, November 18th or Friday, November 20th or something at 4 o'clock. The experience of the Siddha Deha...
The consciousness of the material world even disappears.
Exactly. So the Siddha Deha, therefore, manifests as having been eternally existing. You understand? In terms of its position in Nityavatmankal. So I don't want to go down too far this track because we'll get off. So anyway, are there any other questions or comments? I'm hoping that my time will afford me one more class next week and I can explain more about this. But any other questions or comments for tonight's class? It is a lot to digest, but as we go into understanding this particular level of Siddhant, it'll be like that. There'll be many things which we may or may not be familiar with, and many devotees are very familiar with it, so they've heard this from Srila Gurudev and many other Vaishnavas, so there's no misunderstanding about it. Well, if there are no other questions, then I'm going to beg the mercy to end a little bit early because my schedule has now changed a little bit, so I have to make some adjustments about my sleeping and what time I have to do things tomorrow, etc. Haribol, Prabhuji.
So how similar is this spontaneity of Raganuga to what we call in English second nature? One practices how to dance or sing or anything, and then at a certain point, things happen that are you might call supernatural or beyond practice. There are things that are anointed or given as extra blessings.
So, yeah. So, Tarun Krishna Prabhu was asking, for those devotees who did not hear the question, is there any similarity between what in the material world we call second nature and the spontaneity of Raganuga Bhakti? So, really not, because there are no real actual comparisons from the spiritual paradigm to the material world. Second nature is second material nature. It is second material nature. So it neither has permanency, it does not have a permanent relationship to the Atma or anything. So I think if I understand your question, you're asking, is there any, can we use it as like a comparison if we want to use it as an example? And not even really that, because how the nature of Rag works, right, is completely different. Because it's not manifesting from the person, it's something that's manifesting in the person from Swarup Shakti. Understand?
Second nature comes from some scar of the karma.
Yes. Yes. It's essentially some scar or something. Or one can develop second nature. Like people will say you practice something until it's second nature. Whether it's athletics or anything else. Right? You can practice something until it becomes like second nature. So yeah, it's not I wouldn't make it such a direct comparison to it. All right, my Dandavats devotees, all glories to Srila Gurudev, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai Vancha Kalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhaveva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.